have had 40 minutes to work on this. You're supposed to be checking your answers. So yes, I'm going to go very fast because I have to do all of the answers in 18 minutes. So this will at least show you how to solve them all. If you don't get it, you can always write it down when you go home and check on the YouTube video. Okay, winning for the middle school 4-person 100-meter relay was 62 and 59 seconds. Suppose that each runner ran exactly the same amount. What would be the time for each runner? There's our question. The 100 is just a distractor. It doesn't matter. I'm doing a 62 and 59 divided by 4. So we're just going straight division. Please stop the talking. So that's going to go 1, 5 minus 20. 2, still not at 0. My decimal goes straight up. 25 is going to go 6 times. 24 gives me a 1. Bring down the 9. 19 is going to go 4 times. Subtract 16, still not at 0. So now I add a 0. I don't add a decimal. It goes into 37 times. Subtract 28 gives me a 2. Still not at 0. So we do another 0. 20 is now going to go 5 times. And we finally reached our 0. So the time is 15 and 6,475 10,000th seconds. Number 2, this is just estimation, guys. You don't have to do a whole bunch of work on this. I just find numbers that are close. So a number close to 50, I can divide by 2. So, or 48, I'm going to do 50 divided by 2 is 25. That tells me I need 2 decimal places, so it goes between the 3 and the 2. That should be that easy to do. This one is about 200 divided by 8. That's going to go about 25 times, meaning I need 2 numbers. So my decimals go between the 5 and the 6. Number 3, remember our keep, change, flip for division. We don't actually divide fractions. We multiply by the reciprocal. I like reductions. I can divide those by 3, gives me a 1 over 4. Same on part B, it's 5/8 times 2 over 1. Again, I like the reductions. It makes the math easier. 5 over 4, which I can simplify to 1 and 1/4. Don't forget to simplify. If it's not simplified, you will lose half credit. Number 4 is a rectangular piece of land that is 75 hundredths by 1 25 hundredths miles. Determine the area. Area, that is a rectangle, so it's length times width. They gave me a length of 75 hundredths and 1 25 hundredths, but to do the math, I prefer the smaller number on bottom. We just count our decimal places. In this case, there are 4. Then I'm multiplying 125 by 75. So go 25, 10, 12, 6, 0, 35, 17, 8. Add them up. 5, 7, 13, 9. And I put 4 decimal places. So it is 9375. Do not forget your units. If you don't have the units on your test, you will lose half credit for the problem. Is everybody clear on that? Yeah. Okay. Determine the surface area. Surface area is, they gave us the nets, so they actually did most of the work for us. Now all I have to do is put the pieces together. I have a rectangle, and then I have 4 identical triangles, because this is a square prism, square pyramid. So I only have 2 shapes that I need to worry about. Shape 1 is a square, so it's just base times height. I know that the base and height are 4.5. So 4.5 times 4.5 gives me 2 decimal places. 25, 22, 0, 20, 16, 18. Put it together. 5, 2, 10, 2 with 2 decimal places. So the first number I need is 20 and 25 hundredths. My second number, the second shape, is a rectangle, or a triangle, sorry. So for number 2, it's 1/2 the base times the height. In this case, it's 1/2. My base is the 4 5/10. And my height is 5. I don't have any even numbers, so I'm personally going to multiply the 2 numbers together first. 4 5/10 times 5, I've got 1 decimal place. 25, 22. I take half of that, so that's going to be 11 and 25 hundredths. You can check my math later on that if you want to. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those triangles. So I'm going to multiply that amount by 4. Gives me 2 decimal places, 20, 8, 10, 4, 5, 45. And that is the other number I'm going to add. Gives me 65 and 25 hundredths. centimeters squared. Again, don't forget your units. Our next one is a rectangular prism, meaning I've only got 3 shapes. I've got this one that's 4.5. I've got the end shapes that are 3 7/10, and then I've got these middle shapes, which is that 3 7 by 7 3/10. All of these are rectangles, so they're all going to be base times height. So I have a base of 7 4/5 and a height of 4 5/10 times 7 3/10. 2 decimal places gives me 15, 12, 13, 0, 35, 3, 28, 31, 5, 8, 2, 3. But I have 2 of these, so I'm going to multiply that now by 2. So I do 10, 16, 17, 4, 5, 6, 2 decimal places. So my first number is 65 70/100 from the number 1 shape. Number 2 shape is this end one. So I've got a base of 3 7/10, height of 4 5/10. And there's where you'll be able to use your formula sheets in case you can't remember the formulas for the different shapes. So we will give you that for the test. So we've got 35, 15, 18, 28, 12, 14, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 16 and 65/100. But again, I have 2 of those shapes. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. 10, 12, 13, 12, 13, 3. So that gives me 33 and 30/100 for my second number. My number 3 shape is still a rectangular rectangle, so it's base times height. This time my base is the 3 7/10, and my height is the 7 3/10. I have 2 decimal places, gives me 21, 9, 10, 11, 0, 49, 4, 21, 25, gives me 1, 10, 21, 25, that's a 5, right? 6, 7, 2701, 21, 9, 10, 11, 49, 21, 25, yes, okay. So I was just checking my math, times 2, because I have 2 of them. 2, 0, 14, 5, and I'm going to add up all 3 of those numbers for my total area. Gives me a 2, a 10, 9, 10, 13, 11, 12, 16. So it gives me a surface area of 163 and 2,200 centimeters squared. Questions on your first 5 problems? Okay, our next part. Estimate each sum or difference to the nearest whole number, then calculate each sum. So we had 2 parts we're doing. We need an estimation and a calculation. So our first part for the estimation, 24 is going to be close to 25. 12.99 is close to 13. 449 is just under, so I'll use 4. 19 is close to 20. So I'm going to just add those up. It gives me 7, 12, 62. So that's my estimate. It's going to be about $62. To do the actual calculations, $24.99, $12.99, $4.49. I don't like the way that one looks, sorry. $4.49 and $19.95. Gives me $27.32. $27.34. My decimal comes straight down. 10, 19, 22, 62. So the cost is $62.42, which is close to my estimate. So that's probably a really good answer. Jade and Tanya ran a 400-meter race. Jada ran it in 75 and 2/10. Tanya ran it in 69 and 7/10. How much faster did Tanya run? That means I'm just subtracting. So 75 and 2/10, subtract 69 and 7/100. Add in my trailing 0. So, actually, I should have done my estimate first, sorry. So that's about 75, that's about 69. So 75 minus 69 is going to give me about 6 seconds. my actual math, I get 3, 1, 15, 6, and 1300. So that's really close. So Tanya was 6 and 1300 seconds faster. Okay, going to the back side. I told you it was going to go quick, guys. Our first one, sports drink calls for 7 scoops for every gallon of water. Describe how you can change either the number of scoops or the amount of water to give it a stronger flavor. So the bottom line is I can either add more scoops or decrease the water. So an example would be 8 scoops to 1 gallon. Or I could also say, if I did it kept it at 7 scoops, I could decrease the water to 3/4 gallon. So giving examples would be an explanation. You could also have just said it. I can either increase the number of scoops or decrease the amount of water. Either of those answers would work. Of the 75 students who play a spring sport, 30 run track, 25 play baseball, 20 play lacrosse. Write the ratios and determine whether a part-to-part or part-to-whole relationship exists. So there's 2 parts. Write the ratios and determine part-to-part or part-to-whole. So if we look track to baseball, track is 30 track to 25 baseball. And we should always simplify. I can divide both those by 5. That's going to give me 6 track to 5 baseball. And that is a part-to-part ratio because I'm comparing the parts. Do not forget to do that second part. On the last time we did this test, each of those was worth a point. So if you didn't write the part-to-part, you lost an entire point. Our second one, track to total. So track we said was 30, track to 75 total. Again, we simplify it. I can divide both those by 5. It's giving me 6 track to 15 total, which I can actually simplify again by 3. So that's giving me 2 track to 5 total. And that one would be a part-to-whole ratio. So don't forget to do both parts of that. Okay, Ellen can make 5 dresses with 45 yards of cloth. If Ellen has 72 yards of cloth, how many dresses can she make? This is a simple ratio, guys. Start off with drawing your ratios out. 5 dresses to 45 yards equals some number of dresses over 72 yards. Can I go straight from 45 to 72? No. But can I simplify 5 and 45? Yes. So I'm going to divide those by 5. That's going to give me 1 dress and 9 yards. So now 9 to 72. Can I do that? Yeah, that's times 8. So I'm going to take 1 times 8 to give me 8 dresses. So 8 dresses here. And then our second one, she makes a dress for herself. How many yards of cloth does she need? We actually already answered that when we simplified, right? So that 1 dress, she needs 9 yards. Okay, last week she built 7 birdhouses with 2 boards. Determine how many birdhouses she can make for each number. So we're studying the same one for both of these. Our initial ratio is 7 birdhouses and 2 boards. So I've got birdhouses and boards. But now I have 6 boards. So 2 to 6 is just times 3. So 7 times 3 gives me 21 birdhouses. Our last one on this one is the same. It's 7 birdhouses and 2 boards equals my birdhouses and boards. But this time it's 10 boards. So 2 to 10 goes times 5. So we do 7 times 5, and we get 35 birdhouses. Okay, our last one. During the online typing test, Morgan typed 144 words in 2 minutes. Elizabeth typed 150 words in 3 minutes. Ruth typed 65 words in 1 minute. Create a ratio table to show each girl's speed for 1 through 6 minutes. So they gave me the parameters. Plot each set of equivalent ratios on a coordinate plane. Use a dot for Morgan, a square for Elizabeth, a triangle for Ruth. Draw 3 separate lines through the points that represent each ratio. What do you notice? And who is the fastest typist? Who is the slowest typist? Explain how you can tell. So that's just like that stretch exercise we just did on today's homework that we graded. So we're going to start by building 3 tables. So we need to start with Morgan. And I'm just going to throw this in here. I'm actually going to switch the table for how I did it in the first 2 periods and match it up with the way they wrote the ratio. They said words per minute. And I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The ratio they gave me was 144 in 2. So that tells me I need to divide by 2 to get here. So that gives me 77. I'm personally just going to add. So I'm going to add 77 plus here because I'm only going up by 1, so I know I'm adding 77 every time. It's going to give me 11, 11, 12, and 2, 221. I'm going to do it over here just to be safe. 11, 12, 221. Add another 77, gives me 298. Add another 77, gives me 375. Add another 77, gives me 452. And Morgan, we're going to use a circle, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there to keep it straight for myself. Oh, jeez. Get home tonight, hopefully. Okay, our next one is Elizabeth, so I'm just going to say Liz for that one. Oops. Yep, so I have to finish it up later, guys. I will post it tonight. Okay, our next one was Liz. We're going to do the same format. We have our ratio table. They've told us word per minute for 1 through 6. So with Liz, the information they gave us was 150 words in 3 minutes. So I know the 150 goes there. So to get back to the 1, I'm going to divide by 3. So this one I'm going to divide by 3, giving me 50. So I'm going to do addition. So I add 50, gives me 100. Add 50, 200, 250, and 300. And Elizabeth is using the square. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one there as well to help remind me for when I'm graphing. Our last one was Ruth. Guys, if you're not going to be quiet, you're going to leave the room. You should be working right now. Our last one was Ruth. Our table format is going to be exactly the same. We're again doing 1 through 6 on our minutes. And our words per minute for Ruth, they actually gave us straight up, it was 65 words in 1 minute. So I'm just going to add 65 each time. Gives me 130, 195, 10, 260, 5, 355, and 10, 11, 12, 420. Once we have all those, now we can start doing our plotting. Oh, and Ruth, we used the triangle. So we're going to do all 3 of them. First thing we need to do is our axes, X and Y. Make sure you label your 2 axes. We also need to do our what we're doing. So we're doing words per minute. So our X's are the words, and our Y's is the number of minutes. If you reverse the axis based on your table, that's fine. You need to find an interval that's going to work, though. So I need to get all the way up to 452 on my words. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, basically you're going to have to do 100 for every interval. Sorry, it's going to get a little bit crowded. It's okay to skip intervals and just label every other one. I just want to make sure you guys had them all down there. And then our minutes, we just did 1 through 6. So we have 7 lines. So for Morgan, I'm going to use dots. 77 is going to be a little over 3/4 of the way. 140 at 2 minutes, it's 144, so just under half. At 3 minutes, we're at 221, so about 1/4 of the way. For 4 minutes, we're almost to 300, so it's literally going to be just like right at the dot. For 5 minutes, it's 375, so about 3/4 of the way. And then at 6 minutes, we've got 452, so just past halfway. So there's the dots. That gives us the line for Morgan. Liz, we're going to use squares. At 1, it's 50, so she's going to be just short of that. Unfortunately, that square looks almost like the dot. At 2, it's exactly 100. At 3, it's 150. At 4, it's 200. At 5, it's 250. And at 6, it's 300. Our last one is the triangles. So at 1, it's 65. So it's going to be kind of in between those two. At 2, we're starting to get a little more separation, so the triangle is going to be between them. At 3, it's 195, so it's just before it. At 4, it's 260. Since we're getting a little bit better separation between our 3 lines. At 5, we're at 355. It's going to be just right over halfway. Oh, I did that wrong. I was wondering when I did that. I got to change those last 2 entries. That's actually going to be 325, and 65 would be 390. That makes more sense. Okay, so 325 is going to be here, and then 390 is going to be just before 400. I'm going to go ahead and use the smartboard one to make my lines. You guys should be using a straight edge. Remember that they're always available on the student desk if you need them. So I'm going to end up with 3 different lines. Go away. There we go. Line. So our first line is going to go through the O's. Our second line is going to go through the triangles. And our third line is going to go through the O's. Our last question on this was, what do you notice and who's got the most? So for number 3, what do we notice? They all start at 0, 0, and all they're distinct lines. Because they all go through 0, 0, that's what we call origin. So they are ratios. Looking at them, it should be pretty easy to figure out the fastest typist. Fastest typist gives us the most words per minute. So I want the one that's the furthest to the right, which is going to be Morgan. Morgan is fastest. Because her line is on the bottom. Because that's where it's actually showing the fastest one on this one. Because our bottom line was our words. If you reversed it, then Morgan's line is still going to be the fastest, but she'll be on top instead of the bottom. And then the slowest one is our squares, which was Liz. So it's basically the ones on the extreme. And you need to make sure you're answering all of the questions because these will all be on the test. And understanding on top or bottom and which one is sorted fast is very important. Okay, guys, good luck. Don't forget to study. Test is on Tuesday, Wednesday.